Iran shock. U.S. attacks Iranian naval ship worth $1.5 billion. At 8 a.m., the Strait of Hormuz looks deceptively calm, a flat expanse of steel-blue water under a hazy sky. But beneath that fragile surface, the battle space is alive. Radar screens bloom with new contacts. Electronic signals spike and distort. Sonar operators track faint anomalies threading through shipping lanes packed with slow-moving tankers. General quarters alarms echo through the carrier strike group as sailors sprint to stations, hatches sealing, weapon systems powering to full readiness. This is no routine shadowing maneuver. What is unfolding is a layered, high-risk chess match at the world's most volatile energy choke point. Fast-moving contacts probe from the margins. Electronic interference flickers like a warning shot across the spectrum. Every movement is measured, every response calculated, because in waters this narrow, a single misstep doesn't stay local. Its consequences ripple across global markets and military alliances. The calm surface hides a confrontation balanced on a razor's edge. At the center of the storm sails the Arleigh Burke-class Flight 3 destroyer USS Delbert D. Black. Its SPY-6 radar array is not merely scanning the waters, but dissecting the battle space in microscopic detail. Every return is analyzed. Every flicker of electromagnetic noise sparks questions. Every unusual thermal bloom across the surface is flagged, classified, measured against patterns only a few can recognize. Operators lean over consoles, eyes darting, fingers hovering over switches, trying to anticipate threats that might not even be visible yet. The ship moves like a steel predator through a web of unseen dangers. Data floods the screens in torrents, exposing hidden movements, patterns, anomalies, clues to intent and strategy. Outside, the horizon is calm, gray, and deceptive, hiding the invisible chess match where a single second could tip the balance from control to chaos. Across the horizon, Iran's most controversial maritime project slowly emerges. The drone carrier, Shahed Bagheri. Once a commercial hull, now stretched to nearly 250 meters, retrofitted with an angled flight deck and rows of drone launchers. It is Tehran's bold experiment to rewrite naval warfare without a traditional aircraft carrier. From a distance, it seems lumbering, exposed, almost harmless, a floating relic of steel. But appearances are a trap. In the confined waters of the Strait of Hormuz, the Shahed Bagheri transforms into something far more sinister. It is a floating command node, orchestrating swarms of drones with precision, saturating sensors, jamming communications, and bending perception itself. Every deck hums with hidden activity, every launcher a potential spark of chaos. The horizon may appear calm, but it conceals a storm in waiting. Every movement, every flicker, every second could trigger consequences that ripple far beyond these narrow waters. In these moments, the line between observation and engagement blurs, and the deadly game begins. Below the surface, the tension is worse. IRGC fast attack craft have maneuvered outward in crescent arcs. Torpedo tubes are reported open. Their geometry suggests not a frontal assault, but a herding maneuver, pushing the American destroyer toward tighter waters, toward mined corridors, toward pre-plotted kill zones. Above, F/A-18 Super Hornets from USS Abraham Lincoln carve contrails across the morning sky. Laser designation pods flicker to life. Electronic support aircraft orbit silently beyond visual range. Every platform is connected. Every movement feeds a shared digital picture. One wrong calculation here doesn't just risk ships, it risks global energy markets. Nearly a fifth of the world's oil flows through this strait. A single missile strike, a single burning tanker, could detonate shockwaves far beyond the Gulf. Then, at 0842, the atmosphere changes. The Shahed Bagheri begins radiating high-powered electronic emissions. White noise floods the spectrum. Radar screens bloom with clutter. Signals pulse outward in rhythmic bursts, signatures that resemble drone uplinks, targeting radars on swarm coordination traffic. To an untrained eye, it looks like the beginning of a massive launch. But aboard USS Delbert D. Black, the SPY-6 is doing more than detecting. It is peeling layers away. The radar's software correlates emissions, cross-checks timing intervals, compares modulation patterns to known IRGC drone protocols. And then the anomaly appears. The signals are real, but the behavior is wrong. The power output is excessive. The synchronization lacks the micro-variations typical of live drone command networks. What the destroyer is seeing is not a swarm preparing to strike. It is theater. The Shahed Bagheri is emitting simulated control traffic through deck-mounted generators. It is pretending to be the nerve center of an imminent mass drone assault, hoping to trigger a defensive overreaction, hoping to bait the Aegis system into launching interceptors at ghosts. It is a decoy, a $1.5 billion decoy. But if that is the decoy, where is the real threat? The answer lies beneath 300,000 tons of steel. Civilian supertankers continue their transit through the strait, including a massive crude carrier moving slowly along a commercial lane. Beneath its acoustic shadow, Iranian Ghadir-class mini-submarines and autonomous underwater vehicles creep forward. The physics are brutal. A supertanker's engines generate a wall of low-frequency noise. Against that backdrop, the faint propeller signatures of a mini-sub vanish like whispers in a hurricane. Firing blindly risks striking the tanker. Hitting a civilian oil carrier in these waters would ignite not just an environmental disaster, but a geopolitical firestorm. By 0850, the underwater picture clarifies. Passive sonar data from American helicopters begins to paint a faint, almost invisible pattern beneath the merchant traffic. From USS Abraham Lincoln, MH-60R Seahawk helicopters deploy sonobuoy fields in tight grids. Instead of relying on traditional detection algorithms, the processing systems fuse acoustic layers, subtracting tanker noise, isolating harmonic distortions, mapping the seabed in virtual explainable models. It is not about hearing louder, it is about hearing smarter. Gradually, distinct signatures emerge, slow, methodical rotations, mechanical rhythms inconsistent with civilian hulls. The ghost is below. Realizing their acoustic concealment is unraveling, Iranian commanders escalate. The Shahed Bagheri activates fire control radar, briefly locking onto airborne helicopters. See a warning pulse, not yet a launch. The American response is colder than expected. Instead of firing missiles, USS Delbert D. Black adjusts its acoustic profile. Flow dynamics around its propellers shift. Deceptive acoustic projectors activate. To submarine sensors below, the destroyer appears to veer miles off its actual track. Iranian mini-subs begin tracking the false echo. They are hunting an illusion. Meanwhile, a Virginia-class submarine, silent and deep, receives precise underwater coordinates. The hunter-hunted dynamic quietly flips. No dramatic torpedo launch follows, not yet, but the geometry has changed irrevocably. Then comes the next layer. High above, EA-18G Growlers establish digital connectivity with the destroyer's combat system. Rather than brute force jamming, they perform signal analysis in real time by isolating the timing architecture that synchronizes Iranian drone swarms. They do not attempt full takeover. They don't need to. By corrupting a fraction, just a sliver, of packet timing and checksum validation, they introduce chaos into the swarm logic. On Iranian consoles, drone icons begin flickering. Flight paths wobble. Formation integrity collapses. Some drones drift. Others miscalculate altitude separation. Mid-air collisions occur. To Iranian operators, it looks like a catastrophic breach, as if encryption keys have been compromised. In reality, the Americans have not hijacked the swarm. They have convinced Tehran that they could. Panic spreads through command channels. If control is lost entirely, drones might reverse course toward their own fleet. That psychological possibility is more dangerous than any missile. At 9:20, a desperate order is issued. Self-destruct. Hundreds of drones ignite internal charges and plunge into Gulf waters. A billion-dollar arsenal disappears in seconds, not from enemy fire, but from fear. The humiliation is strategic, but it is not the end. Deep within limestone cliffs along Iran's coast, blast doors grind open. Coastal anti-ship missile batteries power up. Noor cruise missiles, sea skimming, radar homing, lock targeting beams onto USS Delbert Deep Black. In these waters, a saturation salvo could overwhelm defenses. A single hit could ignite cascading escalation. Yet the American destroyer does not turn away. It maintains course. 18 knots. Steady bearing. It is a calculated display. Confidence bordering on defiance. Then, from beyond the horizon, electronic deception unfolds again. Growlers launch MALDJ decoys to miniature airborne targets programmed to mimic fighter and bomber radar signatures. Iranian radar scopes flood with dozens of inbound tracks from multiple vectors. Operators have seconds to decide. Fire, and they give away exact launch coordinates, an open invitation for a precise counterstrike. Hold fire, and they risk falling for a deadly bluff. On the screens, radar returns explode. 50 Phantom aircraft streak inward, ghostly shapes cutting through digital grids. The defenders freeze, calculating, hesitating, caught between action and inaction. Every flicker of a blip, every electronic pulse could be real, or a trap. In the Combat Information Center, silence is deafening, punctuated only by the low hum of machinery and the rising pulse of tension. One wrong decision here could cascade into chaos, and that hesitation decides everything. At 0945, Iranian fire control radars power down. The missile cities fall silent. The Shahed Bagheri turns away, escorted toward Bandar Abbas, under the watchful gaze of American ISR platforms. No missiles are launched, no ships are sunk. But the battlefield has shifted. The United States did not destroy the drone carrier. It exposed it. By forcing Tehran to activate emitters, to reveal timing protocols, to light up coastal radars, the American fleet harvested something more valuable than wreckage: data. Every emission logged, every frequency mapped, every command burst geolocated. The Shahed Bagheri sails home not as a symbol of defiance, but as a monitored liability. Every future activation of its systems will whisper its intentions to adversaries already listening. This confrontation in Hormuz was not about tonnage or firepower alone. It was about perception, information dominance, and the ability to weaponize restraint. In modern naval warfare, victory is not always measured in sinking hulls. Sometimes, it is measured in who forces the other side to blink. The Strait of Hormuz remains narrow. The tension remains real. But the lesson is unmistakable. In an era of swarms, decoys, and digital ghosts, the side that masters the spectrum, above and below the water, controls the outcome before the first missile leaves its rail. And in this standoff, the most devastating weapon was not a torpedo or a cruise missile. It was doubt. If this analysis gave you a clearer picture of how today's naval confrontations are really fought, beyond the headlines and the hype, make sure to support the channel. Subscribe for future strategic deep dives and turn on notifications so you're always first on deck when the next crisis unfolds.